welcome to another episode of A Drummer's Guide to. This week I have a question from a drummer called Piom Apolipa, and I'm probably saying your name totally wrong and I apologise. But he is a great drummer and he is asking, how did I get my first client as a remote recording drummer? So on my website emilydrums.com I do online sessions for people, so anyone around the world sends me their songs, I record on them and I send them back stems. Basically that's the short version of what I do, and he's just asking, how did you get your first client? So I thought that I think that's a great question, so I thought I'd talk about that. So what you have to understand about when I started emilydrums.com and when I put together the studio, I had like not zero but like pretty much zero knowledge on recording, on, you know, I know how to play the drums. Well, I'm always learning, but you know what I mean, it's an ongoing thing. But to a point, I know how to play the drums, I know how to play a song, but the whole recording side of things, I'd done recording sessions, but honestly, I'd go into studios and I'd see the sort of, I didn't know what I was looking at, so just a whole pile of stuff, and I'd be like, I don't know what any of that does, I have zero clue. So to me it was like this huge thing of, oh my gosh, I don't know what any of this does and I don't know what I'm doing. So when I sort of made the decision that I was gonna do the remote recording thing because it made a lot of sense for me, my personality. I've sort of mentioned it in other videos, but you know, it meant that I was playing with lots of different people every day. It also meant I was recording songs, and I love songs. It meant that I could even be at home a little bit, which I've never had in my career before, and I thought, well, that might be nice, which it is, and sort of work to my own schedule and have a bit of control over my career and what I'm doing. So I kind of looked at all those elements and went, well, obviously remote recording, great idea, let me do that. But what I hadn't banked on was the fact that I didn't really know how to do that. So I learned, basically, and I got a very basic setup. I sort of like had the studio, I got a basic setup of what I thought I needed to give people and all of that. And starting out, I had no clients, zero, none. And what I did was basically looked at it logically and went, right, I have minimal knowledge about this, I need to grow my knowledge base. And as I've said in other videos, the best way for me to do that is throw myself in and to get to a situation where I have to do the work because I've been booked to do it, someone's paying me to do it, or you know, there needs to be a deadline. So what I did was, to get my first clients, was I reached out to all the musicians that I knew, or many of the musicians that I knew. I sent a round robin email, I remember, and I basically said, look, I've decided to start doing this, I've decided to start doing remote recording. If you need any drums, I'd be happy to do them for free in return for some feedback, and just let me know how I can improve what I'm doing and you know, and what's good about it and blah, blah, blah. So I had a couple of people come back and say, actually, yeah, I'm working on songs, like, would you be up for doing something? So I did that, and I did it for free, and we sort of had a bit of a back and forth, and I can't tell you how helpful some of those people were. They were just, because some of them were so precise with their, well, they're so knowledgeable, they've spent years in recording studios, and they didn't even need to be here to know how to sort of like reposition a mic and you know, that, I mean, to the point of saying, maybe you should turn it like 5 degrees like away, like the Hats mic. I remember particularly, it's this wonderful producer called Robin Miller, and he's so kind, and he basically was like, you know, your Hats mic, I'd say maybe you like move it 5 degrees away from the kit towards like the edge of the hats. And I was like, oh, okay. I was like, how are you doing this? You're not like, how do you know where it is? And anyway, magical person, magical. So yeah, so I basically did that, and so I'd say I maybe did that for a couple of months to kind of get my feet, get my flow of how I want to work and how best to work, and creating templates for recording and stuff like that, just working out the logistical side of it, I suppose, and how to send over files, you know, all these sort of little things that you don't really think about until you're there and you're like, wait, how am I actually going to do that? And like revisions and stuff like that. And then I took it a step further, and I sort of like reached out to a few other people that I knew, and well, that was the thing, word was sort of getting around that I was doing this, because I was putting up a few videos here and there, and you know, just letting it be known. some other people got in touch that I knew, and rather than saying I'll do it for free, what I said was, okay, I'll do this for you, and then at the end of that you can just pay what you want, and that can be either what you can afford or what you think the recording deserves, if that makes sense. And I did that, and that was really good because it gave me a baseline of what people expected to pay for what I was providing, and that's basically how I got my first clients. And I sort of like set my baseline of my rate, which since then, I mean, I've invested in a lot more equipment, my skill set has gone up tenfold, if not more, and obviously I'm charging a certain amount now that is very different from doing it for free. So yeah, I think that's basically how I first got my first clients, was just emailing everyone that I knew that I thought that they could use me for their projects or songwriting or whatever, offering it for free. And as someone said to me, if you can't give it away for free, then you're probably doing something wrong. So I knew that I had to be at a certain level for people to want to pay for this service. And yeah, and like I say, started out emailing people I knew, and then it just sort of grew from there. People would recommend me, and I would sort of like reach out to people on the internet. It's been many different ways really, but it's turned into what is a really wonderful, enjoyable business. I'm a business owner, how weird is that? Anyway, but I hope that I have answered your question. If I haven't, let me know, and I'll try and answer it better. But anyone else that has a question as well, then please feel free to email me, or send a message through adrummersguide2.com. I'm getting really confused because I talk about Ebony Drums and I talk about A Drummer's Guide 2, and the crossover is kind of confusing me right now. I'm a simple being, I really am. So yeah, go to adrummersguide2.com, ask me any question you want, or stick them in the comments below, and I will see you next week for another subject. Alright, I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye bye.